Hello, my beautiful people. How are we all? So we are going live with the beautiful Courtney Luna. Everyone just hold 2 seconds. Submitted your questions, which have been super helpful. If there is... Oh, hello, Court.
Hi. Oh my God, this is horrible lighting. Do I look like that? Weird.
I thought the same thing. I was like, I haven't put any makeup on. I'm like, fuck it.
It looks all like I look weird and blotchy right now. Oh well.
Okay, we can be blotchy together. Hello, beautiful. We got online pretty easily and pretty quickly. I was just saying to everyone, we've got some questions already, but if you haven't submitted your questions, make sure you put them in the comment box and I will sporadically check that. Courtney and I have been trying to navigate this live, haven't we, babe, to try and get it done a little bit sooner because I am off on a road trip straight after this. So we are slightly limited today on our time, but we'll get to as many questions as we possibly can. And we're just excited to hang out. I love Courtney. Courtney and I met last year, I think.
Yeah, pretty quickly after I started carnivore.
Yeah. And I hadn't been doing full carnivore, you know, I'd reduced and gone like heavy meat-based, but I hadn't gone full carnivore until January last year. So I hadn't been doing it that long either when you started full on. And I was so happy to meet Courtney. She's been one of these amazing women in our carnivore community that I am blessed to call a friend. And we just like hanging out. So we were like, we haven't hung out. Let's do a live. Let's answer some questions. Oh, and Jess is here. Hi, Jess. Nice to see you all, and yeah, let's get to some of your questions. Okay, all right, so we'll start with the ones in the comments, because if you guys are here, you get first dibs because you made it live, and then we'll answer anything else. Wendy is saying she's having to starve herself to lose weight on this diet. I'll let you can start, Court.
I don't know. I feel like that shouldn't be happening. I'd be curious to know if you're like tracking your macros or if you're like eating it. Like if you're hungry, then I would eat. So I would be curious to know like where you're at before I could even like give any advice on that. But I don't know of anyone that's like actually like hungry, you know?
Yeah. The starvation comment is a concern, right? Because you shouldn't be hungry. Like the greatest thing about this way of living and thriving is that you're not starving yourself or depleting yourself or, you know, restricting yourself. And so if you're starving, that word describes something that shouldn't really be happening. So yeah, I would be going into, are you eating enough?
Well, she just said, I can only eat 4 patties a day and that's it. What size are the patties? Because that doesn't seem like enough.
Also, when you say a day, do you mean, are you having them in one go? Are you eating OMAD? Are you eating frequently? I've just seen somebody else has popped in and said, eat smaller meals more frequently. I would absolutely not suggest that you do that, actually. So obviously, the more frequently we're eating, the more that we're affecting our hormones and our blood glucose and our insulin and, you know, even eating meat, because meat does have some levels of carbohydrates in it, right? Basically, if you're in a healing state or you're wanting to lose weight, I would definitely suggest sticking to 1 to 2 meals a day in total and making sure that you're getting enough nutrients in those meals and enough fats and proteins in each of those meals to give you enough to thrive. The other question I'd ask you is like, did you do priming? Did you transition over properly? Because if you're in a depleted cellular state, then you're going to be hungry, and that's not the idea either. So maybe you want to do 2 weeks of feasting, or priming they call it, where you're basically eating 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and you're eating as much as you can. As long as you're only eating carnivore, you can do this. If you're eating carbohydrates, you can't do this. It doesn't work. But if you do it via meat and animal products alone, you eat as much as you can 3 times a day, and you do that for 2 weeks. When I did my original priming before I started fasting and all the things, I lost 4 kilos in those 2 weeks, and that was stuffing myself. So it's not related to how frequently you're eating necessarily, or the calories, screw calories. It is, what are the nutrients you're giving your body and how much of them are you giving them? And that's what I would look at. I'd also look at your digestion, your stress levels, because those things have massive play. I was super stressed when my in-laws were here for 4 months, and I was eating perfectly, and I blew up. I literally looked like I was pregnant. I even took a pregnancy test, Courtney, because I was like, oh my God, I can't be pregnant. But I was literally storing body fat, and I was eating perfectly. So stress is one of these underlying nasties that we kind of don't really pay too much attention to, but it really will inhibit and affect our fat loss and our body composition.
Yeah, well, she's also saying when I eat other foods, I gain weight and have sharp pains in my stomach. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with just eating beef, though. But
Yeah.
I mean, so that aside, how many times a day are you eating, and how much are those 4 patties? So I would be curious on that. And then, I mean, and then how long? I mean, you say you gain weight. Is it just like the next day, maybe the scale goes up, because it's not technically going to be, you're gaining fat. So I feel like I have a million more questions to ask to really like troubleshoot
much
that.
actually properly advise you.
Yeah.
Those are to think about and consider. And like Courtney said, you can absolutely eat beef if that is what is working with you. That's fine. Just making sure that you're having enough fats with that. So either in the form of tallow, animal fats, or fatty cuts of meat, or good grass-fed organic sources of butter, or cream, or what you can handle and tolerate. But yeah, and also having stomach pains, that isn't normal either on carnivore. So if you've got something further going on with your gastrointestinal system, you need to look at that, like almost not separately, but as a different component. Weight loss, weight gain, like you said, it isn't as simple as, oh, I'm just going to weigh myself today, I must be on the right track. Because like you said, the scales mean nothing. That is just our overall total of weight. It doesn't tell us what our composition is. It doesn't tell us what our water is. It doesn't tell us any of the other things that our weight makes up. And it can be quite discouraging to weigh yourself regularly and be like, I'm not going anywhere, or I'm getting heavier. Especially if you exercise as well, especially with, if you've got digestive issues, that kind of thing, you can literally be a kilo heavier or lighter post, going to the bathroom. There's so much to it. So don't get too hung up about what the scales say. Go by how your clothes fit. Courtney did that gorgeous video of her popping on her jean shorts the other day, and how like using clothes is a really good way of seeing how we're progressing and how we're changing. And also, don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you have healed your diabetes, hats off to you. That's freaking amazing. Your body is going through some healing levels too. And sometimes it's going to prioritize healing over breaking down your body fat. So you just have to wait it out.
Yeah. Okay, so like a couple things back to like I actually recorded a quick little thing to share today, to share tomorrow, that I tried those jean shorts on a month ago, same weight, and I couldn't get them on. Now, mind you, they were still tough to get on in this video, but they got on. So yeah, I mean, your body composition can be changing for sure. Okay, so Wendy's saying they're each an ounce each. There's no, you need to eat more. Like, there's no way that's 4 ounces of beef. You need to be having, like, I would say a minimum of a pound.
Yeah.
So I know, like, I feel like it's a catch-22. We don't technically want to be eating all day long. It is better to have like a shorter window if you can, but if you can't get in everything you need to eat, like when I was at KetoCon, they were talking specifically about people that had like gastric bypass, and they couldn't fill their stomach that much. So they said, eating more often is going to be fine, that the benefits of, I don't know, the diminishing return of the benefits, that whole thing, like it will be okay if that's how you need to get it in, because 4 ounces of meat, like that's probably why you're not losing either, because your body's holding on to everything. That is like severely, sorry if I'm coming across as harsh, I'm just really shocked right now, because that's just severely under eating if that's all you're having.
Yeah.
And I would be concerned about that.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because it means that you've got a solution there. And like Courtney said, if you can't get in all your food in 1 or 2 meals, then do what you need to. What I also would just remind you guys is an eating window is an hour. Okay, so let's say you're eating at 6 p.m. right? If you eat at 6 o'clock and you eat till you're full and then you're full, and then at like 6:45, 7 o'clock, you're still hungry, eat some more. It's still classed as one meal if you're within an hour window. And so I had to do that for a little while because I was finding I was getting full really quickly, but I knew I wasn't eating enough to give me what I needed. And so I would do that. I'd eat at the beginning and end of the hour and get in enough to actually thrive,
Yeah.
because you will go into defense mechanisms where it will store and hold on to your body fat if you're not giving it enough.
Yeah, that's why I can't do OMAD. I can't eat enough in one sitting. Even, I mean, maybe if it was like an hour window, maybe I could, but it wouldn't be comfortable. I'm just saying I've lost some, and that's only because I'm not eating all the junk. Yeah, I mean, I would try it and eat more. If you're only having that, that's like 400 calories. I'm actually kind of confused on that.
Yeah,
When
it's
you
definitely,
eat more,
no wonder
you
you're
get sick.
starving. No wonder you feel like you're starving. The other thing is like when I did my priming and my fasting, my priming and feasting, I hated that. Eating 3 times a day and eating beyond full, I was so uncomfortable. I felt sick. I'd literally eat a bite and be like, "Oh, I don't want to eat anymore," and still be shoveling it in because I was in such a depleted state. I needed those nutrients, whether or not it felt comfortable or good to me. I kind of just did it because it was part of the parcel. And as I said, I lost 4 kilos in those 2 weeks. It is definitely not about it. As long as you're eating the right thing, it's unlikely that you're going to be eating too much in order to be negatively affecting your body fat. It's really unlikely.
Yeah. And then Wendy, I would also be curious if you're new to this and you don't have a gallbladder. So honestly, I feel like there's so much, like, feel free to DM me and we can like troubleshoot this in the DMs.
Yeah,
Someone else was asking about our fasting windows. What do you do? What's your typical eating window?
I don't fast anymore. Like I did that for a period of time and it was great, but I just eat whenever I'm hungry. So I don't really follow any protocols anymore. I eat when I'm hungry and I don't when I'm don't. And when, yesterday I had a mega full on day. And so I didn't even think about food. And by the time it got to like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I was like, oh yeah, I haven't even eaten yet. And because my body is fat adapted and I am very metabolically flexible, my body just taps into the fat that's already stored and I just carried on my day. So yesterday I naturally did about 20, 25-ish hours just organically because that's the way the day went. But typically I eat twice a day. Same deal as you. I can't get in enough nutrients with one meal a day. Even if I split that hour up and eat it in a section, it's still just not enough. And I don't like eating to the point that I feel like, like I'm bursting. So I have 2 meals. Oh, hi, Sarah. Yes, so I have 2 meals. What about you?
Yeah, I typically have two, sometimes three. When I do fast, I like it to not feel difficult. So if I wake up one day, like a couple days ago, like I follow Dr. Mindy Pell's advice on some stuff. So I will do fasting or not fasting according to my cycle. So I will not fast the week before I start my period. And that's just considered like you can go 12 hours without eating. That's fine. But when you start your period, you can be like on it and you can fast. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then I woke up that morning and I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat. So if it doesn't feel easy, then I'm not going to do it. But a lot of the times, like, if it's like, oh, I feel good, I'm going to keep this going because there are benefits to it. But then you see like other people being like, oh, you shouldn't push off your breakfast and blah, 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 blah. Like maybe you should eat earlier and cut off dinner. So I don't know. I just do like what feels good for me and I don't push it if it feels difficult.
Yeah, and that's really good advice, Court, because this is meant to be a lifestyle thing. This is not something you do for 2 weeks and you flip in and out of. Like this is just a way of living. And so once you get that in your mind and you're looking at it from that perspective, it's much easier to manage because it's just not something that you're just doing. It's a part of your life. And if you wake up hungry and you fancy breakfast, then you have breakfast. And if you don't, then you don't. And it doesn't have to be so regimented and so rigid and structured. It can be really fluid. And I think listening to yourself and your body's cues and needs, like if you wake up and you're hungry, then eat something, and it depends on your goals. Like there's so many pieces to this. We're just giving you what we do, but you know, depending on the clients that we're working with, we might advise other things. We might actually go, okay, let's get you into a state where we're doing a healing period where you are going to eat, you know, less and less frequently, and you're going to do bigger windows of fasting where you are doing the healing, regeneration, repair work. You know, like it isn't just what we do works. It is what are your goals? Where are you at? How long have you been where you're at? And where are we going to take you? And that's what Courtney and I do to help people. We get really into their current situation, where they're at and where they want to be. And that might be, it might look like a different path than the one that Courtney and I are on, because we're in a different phase of our journey.
Yeah, definitely. Someone else was mentioned they were carnivore for 6 months, and then I lost the comment, but then they like fell off track, and even though they're not feeling well, it's hard for them to get back on track and ditch that sugar. So my thoughts on that would be, you just have to do it. Once you get rid of it, it gets easier. Once like the first week or two goes by and you're not having that sugar, then it will get easier. My suggestions would be, first, to like, what is your why? Why are you doing this? So maybe you can remind yourself when it's getting tough, like, okay, why am I eating this way? Do you have autoimmune issues, or is it your health? Is it, you know, this and that? And then in the moment, if you're like, oh, I need a bite of chocolate, I would have a bite of butter, sprinkle some salt on your tongue, or drink an electrolyte drink, not with stevia, because if you're having sugar cravings and you're having anything sweet, that's just gonna continue the vicious cycle. Make sure you're hydrated, you're up on your electrolytes, you're having enough fat. Even a bubbly water, I feel like, is kind of nice, because it's not so much like you're actually hungry, it's like your mouth is hungry. So having a sparkling water, it's dancing on your tongue, and your tongue is happy. So those are my thoughts on sugar cravings.
Yeah. Those are all really good. Yeah, fats is definitely one that typically pops up in people's worlds. If they're not getting it enough, then your sugar cravings will rear their ugly head. Another thing that I use that works so brilliantly is the P20 rule. I don't know if I've spoken to you about this, Court, but basically all it is it's a procrastination tool. So let's say you've got this chocolate, okay, and you want to eat this chocolate. You first ask yourself, do I want this chocolate, and can I wait? Do I want this chocolate? Yes. Can I wait 2 minutes? Yes. You set a timer for 2 minutes. You come back after 2 minutes. You look at the chocolate. Do I want this chocolate? Can I wait 2 minutes? And you do this for 20 minutes, hence the P20, procrastination 20 minutes. Now, you're not setting the timer for 20 minutes and then coming back and going, do I want it? Yes, and then eating it. You are doing this every 2 minutes for 10 times. What it does is it gives you that ability to make a different choice. It gives you an ability to go, do I want this chocolate? Maybe. Can I wait? Yes. And then the next time you do it, do I want this chocolate? No. And it might take you 20 minutes to get there. I had a client do this for 3 hours once. I mean, it's like literally insane. What it is doing is it's just bringing your presence and your awareness really into the choices that you're making. Because a lot of the time we'll eat something and we're like, oh shit, did I even eat that? Like, I don't even remember, you know, and oh, I shouldn't have done that. No, I didn't feel good, and all this other stuff. And it's too late, because we've done this without engaging ourselves. Our awareness is off. And so by doing this P20 rule, when you get to 20 minutes, if the answer is, do I want this chocolate? Yes. Has it been 20 minutes? Yes. Have I asked myself 10 times, do I want something else? You know, this is a really informed, conscious choice. Now there's no guilt, because you've made a decision to do it. Fine. But then you can also take that information and go, okay, now I ate that chocolate. Did I even enjoy it? Was it even worth it? I should really. And then so each time you do this procrastination tool, you get more of control of your actions. You get more reinforcement of whether or not it's even worth it in the bloody first place. And it becomes easier and easier to step back from those foods.
Yeah, that's great. And it actually makes me think of when we interviewed Pim, because there's other tools you can do. You can distract yourself, go for a walk, go do something with your hands, whatever. But she's like, or you could just sit with it and sit with the feeling. And I'm like, oh, like just the thought of that makes me feel so uncomfortable. Like, imagine having a craving for chocolate and just sitting there and feeling the feelings. Like, oh my gosh, how uncomfortable. But I mean, it's good. You're kind of like getting to the root of it and
Mm,
doing like what you said. Like you're really focusing on what you're doing and not having a distraction. I mean, maybe some need a distraction so they don't do it. But yeah, that's an interesting take.
yeah. Yeah, there are, like you said, so many different methods. This is one that I learned at university like 20 years ago, and this was in my sports psychology paper. And it so bloody works. And so it sounds really like meh, P20, but it bloody does the job, I tell you. Um, it just allows you that control and that presentness. Okay, we've got questions from the stories. Someone is saying they've got low energy during workouts in carnivore and that they already do LMNT. Any thoughts on that? Oh,
Me first, I feel like this is your area of expertise.
I love to hear what you think, though. Always gets my brain going.
Tired. I mean, I feel like so they said specifically fatigue during workouts,
Low energy during workouts in carnivore.
like
Yeah.
not at any other time, just during the workout. I mean, I feel like there's so much that can go into play with low energy. Like, are you eating enough? Are you getting enough fat? Are you hydrated? Are you having, okay, you're having your element drink, but are you having enough like salt on top of that? Maybe that's not enough salt for you. How's your sleep? How, like it could also be deeper and be like a hormone thing. But then I also hear that, people that are into the bodybuilding, that they might feel a tad more energy having some carbs and maybe get a better, like, I don't know, like a response or better, look, but not necessarily better look. So maybe I'm not right on that, but at the expense of what, so I don't know. I feel like some people do better adding a little bit of carbs, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think everything takes time, right? So how long have you been carnivore? Because our body goes through so many different transitions when we go into this way of not having to now compete with other fuel sources. Our body's doing a ton of healing, a ton of detoxification, where, we're going to be, I am definitely going to be expelling oxalates for the next 10 years at least, because I ate so many plants before I went carnivore that I know that it's going to take years and years and years to get them all out of my system. They store and build up there. So, there's so many questions, like Courtney said. Are your salt and electrolyte levels correct? Yes, you're doing a supplement, but is that enough? Do you have any headaches? What's your digestion like? Is your stools okay? Like, there's so many questions when it comes to energy. And I'd also look at, like, if you're digesting well, because that's something too, you can be eating the right food, but your body may not be able to digest that food. There's heaps to it. So I'd look at your fat levels, I'd look at your salt levels, I'd look at your sleep, I'd look at your digestive levels. I'd try some salt shots, and then I'd also just realize that we don't run high energy all the time. Like, just like a tree, we go through cycles, we go through seasons, we go through winter, autumn, summer, spring, and we're not meant to be high energy in our summers 24/7. We're meant to cycle in and out, and so we don't always have the same energy levels that we had last week. Is it related to your food? Like, there's too many questions to know how to advise, but there's definitely some things that you can look at there. The other thing I'd look at is, are you getting natural light in your eyes? How's your circadian rhythm? What's your screen, like red light, blue light exposure? What's your mitochondria cell function health like? These are all things that we can test, by the way, but these are things you need to go down a private consultation route, because you can't do it on a live, sadly. So yeah, if you do need more help with that, then reach out to me on Courtney and we'll see what we can do. The next question is, weight loss or get healthy first? How to fix gut health, diarrhea and constipation on carnivore?
I would say get healthy first, because with the healthy body will come weight loss. You don't want to be having all these issues just to be losing weight. Like, the whole point of this, I feel like, is healing and being healthy, and the weight loss will come with that.
Yep. I totally, utterly agree. Health is always the top priority. Like, aesthetics come with health, right? So as you heal your body and nourish your body with all the nutrients that it could possibly need, your body will respond positively. It just takes, sometimes it takes time. As I said, if your body is prioritizing healing, it's not going to be prioritizing getting your body fat off. And why is that important to you? Like, obviously, body fat and aesthetics, it's great to feel good in your skin. Yes, 100%. But it will come as a resultant rather than the main focus and target. The other thing is your gut health, again, will be fixed over time, but you might need aids to help you assist with that. And the fact that you've had diarrhea and constipation on carnivore is showing that your digestion is not fully at its optimal level, obviously, and that you might have transitioned over too quickly. If you're getting diarrhea, the likelihood is too much fat. If you're having constipation, vice versa, you're probably not having enough fat. So you can manipulate your fat levels depending on how your stools are showing up. But if you have transitioned quickly as well, diarrhea is very common because we're literally killing off the populations of microbiome that eat vegetables and plants, and they will come out your poo. Anything to add on that, Court?
Oh, that was good.
Love talking about poo.
My favorite.
Okay. Carnivore when traveling. I actually just did a little post on what we ate when we were away in Fiji and what we had at the B&Bs. But when we're traveling, typically we take either like beef jerky or dried meats, or we will hard boil eggs, that kind of thing. We actually I froze butter and put it in my check-in luggage. All my beef jerky went into my check-in luggage. I don't even know if you're meant to take meat into other countries, but I do. And then just be as prepared as you can be. We always take salt when we're traveling as well. And then like Fiji had really limited meat. I really struggled with getting even decent meat or getting any meat at all. It's super expensive. But when we did find it, we just stocked up on it and then just cooked at home, and then we'd take stuff out and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that all sounds good. Yeah, I guess the only thing to add would be like, when you're ordering out, I mean, unless you're at a vegan restaurant, like there's going to be meat options, and you can sometimes buy it like a la carte, but like how you can add it on cheaper to a salad. You can just be like, hey, I want a side order of whatever. Can you cook it in butter instead of oil? I'm allergic to oil. So I feel like that's it. But yeah, like bringing, at least for the day of traveling, that doesn't need to be like refrigerated for a while, like hard-boiled eggs, bacon, salami, like all that I would kind of travel with, or the dehydrated stuff, like carnivore snacks. Uh-oh, someone's saying they can't hear anything.
Oh, really? Do you know as well with if there's nothing available, then when you eat like this, you just fast. I just don't eat. Like if the plain food is rubbish, I just won't eat it. Like the flight from Fiji back was these crappy processed eggs, like powdered. I mean, it didn't even look like scrambled eggs. It was so gross that I was just like, meh, I just won't eat. No, it's no big deal. I'll just wait however many hours, and my body's got some fat here. I can just take it from that, and I'm fine. Like you become so much more chill. And because your body is working well and utilizing fuel appropriately, you don't get hangry. I used to get mega hangry if my blood sugar levels dropped. I was like a nightmare to be around. So with this way, you don't need to worry so much. You just eat when you can. And like Courtney said, I always ask for what I want. Be bold, like be ballsy. Just say, like yesterday we went for breakfast and I was like, okay, can I just get a whole heap of sides? And they said, sure. And I was like, great, I'm going to have bacon and salmon and eggs and halloumi and, the side plate, which was amazing. And they're more than happy to do it. Like, they bloody keep sprinkling these black poppy seeds though, seeds on like, get your poisonous seeds off my eggs. But yeah, I do the same thing. When I went to the omelette station, I just got some butter from the bread section and said, could you cook it? And they tipped out the seed oils and wiped out the pans for me. And I just said, yeah, just got it. I don't lie fully. I'm just like, yeah, I just don't really agree with seed oils. My body doesn't agree with seed oils. And, but But you can white lie it and just say, I have an intolerance to seed oils. Like, whatever you want, whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah,
just
it's true. We're all allergic to it. It's all garbage for us.
yeah, exactly. So you can say that. But that's a really good one. It's just ask for what you want. And I always ask for more. Like, I go to this early morning, stupid Thursday morning meeting, and they do all the eggs Benny and waffles and, cereal, and everybody's eating junk around me. And the bacon and egg dish comes with sourdough and slow tomatoes and spinach and all the shit. And I just say, can you just give me the bacon and eggs and none of the rest? And they look at you a bit weird. They're like, not the bread, not the da, not the da. I'm like, yeah. I said, and can you just give me more of whatever the protein is? And they're like, oh yeah, that should be fine. And I end up with this mega pile of bacon and eggs. And everyone's looking at my plate like, hey, how come she looks like that and she's eating that? Like, I get that a lot. People will come up to me and be like, oh, what did you order? And if you go to the same places, and typically I am a creature of habit, if I find something that I like, I will go back. And we get this poached eggs, steak, and bacon from this one place that we go to all the time. And they've renamed it for us. So they call it a 3-2-2. So 3 poached eggs, 2 steak, 2 bacon. And so we go in there and we've got our little code and we're like, yeah, can we have 5 3-2-2s?
That's awesome.
So geeky, but who cares? Like, they are willing. We're more than happy to pay. And, and people always look at our plates and they're like, oh my God, what's that? That's not on the menu. How come they're ordering that? But people are cool. So ask for what you want. Get bold for what you want. And you'd be shocked at how many people will ask you about it, and how many wait staff and people working in restaurants have gone carnivore just by watching our family and starting to like get interested in it and get like, oh, how come you guys are doing that? And this is really, you guys look really vibrant and healthy and well.
Yeah.
And it spreads that way too. And we want to spread this. So ask for what you want.
That's awesome.
All right, have we got any more? Because I've got to run in a memento.
Monica.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is funny. And Courtney, I don't know. So I'm going to leave this one to you, but how to clean grease off your kitchen when cooking meat.
Grease off your kitchen? Don't ask me. Mine's a disaster.
That's
I mean, off of what though specifically? I mean, soap. I mean, soap works great. Bartender keeper friend. I've never used it, but I hear that a lot. Dawn dish soap. Like, I just noticed before I came on here that I dripped ribeye juice on me. So just, I mean, putting soap on it, just spot treatment. But yeah, I mean, I find it just like wipes up easy. So I don't know if there's something specific. Yeah, vinegar.
Yeah, it's natural things. It depends on what kind of route you're going down. I literally cook about 10% of the time. Like, my hubby does all, I'm so lucky. He does
and
all.
Your kids.
Yeah, my kids and my husband, like, well trained. They do the majority of the cooking. So I don't do so much, and we've got to clean. So I'm like sounding privileged over here, but typically if I'm doing it, I'll do a rush job. I'll get one of those scrubbing brushes that have like the soft foamy thing and the nozzle and the handle that has the dishwashing liquid that goes into it, and I'll scrub it all roughly and then I'll wipe it down with a paper towel. And that's my like quick oven cleaner, like fat fix. Otherwise I'm not the cleaning person, so I'm not one to ask. Okay, so there's one question in here. Someone asked about how do you stop it from happening, the diarrhea, when I was talking about your gut microbiome transitioning over. This is why it's important to do it gradually. So if you're going carnivore for the first time and you haven't done it before, you want to transition over about 6 weeks. And you want to start by removing the most toxic plants out of your world and then increasing your protein and fat levels. Once you've got that down to the least toxic plants, and then you start reducing those down. So it's just a process of eliminate the baddies first, and then start transitioning your ratios, and you do that gradually and incrementally. Definitely a good idea to work with a coach when you're doing that, so that if you have any problems along the way, you've got someone that knows what's going on, that knows how to help you, because you do not want to go through weeks of diarrhea. You can have mega problems with your digestion in the future, and you can offset all your electrolytes. So yeah, it can be a problem. So if you are struggling with that, get some support. But Kay, is an incredible scientist who offers this kind of help for people. Courtney also does some coaching with carnivore and has a community. I also do coaching with carnivore. So there's other amazing resources out there. So if you are struggling, get a tiny bit of help and guidance. It can change your world. Literally, I had a guy in Australia. He's been carnivore for about 8 months, and he did a consultation with me recently, and we tweaked a couple of things, like teeny tiny bits that he wouldn't have even thought of. And he went from weeing 3 times a night and waking up with lackluster energy and having some issues with his digestion to 3 days later sleeping through the night, no digestive issues, and he's been fine ever since. So sometimes it just needs somebody's different view to know what to troubleshoot and how to do that and what the problems might be, and then just get that support. I really recommend it, because otherwise you go through it for a year, you're like, oh, this doesn't work. You go back to eating carbohydrates and it's like, oh, it didn't work. It does work. It depends on where you're at in your journey. Okay, is that all the questions? Thank you I follow you both. Thank you for your chat. Oh, you're welcome. Yay, that's everything.
Got it all?
I think so. No, everyone else is just, or do we use seasonings is the last question.
I don't, but I do have it like in my chomp sticks, meat sticks. I'll have that because I'm not making my own, so I will happily eat it like that. I don't use broth anymore because I can make my own if I don't want seasonings. And then I'm sure like sometimes when I go out, it probably has it. I can tell when I have seasonings though. And I will say, this is going to be TMI. I don't think I've ever said this out loud. So if you don't want to hear about my poop, cover your ears. But when I am strictly meat and salt, I guess, it doesn't smell at all. There's no smell. When I have any sort of plant, so even having coffee, it's fine. But when I have any sort of seasoning, I can tell, like it smells.
I, again, with like Court, don't typically, but sometimes it gets put in some of the things that I'm eating. I find that thyme, rosemary, and garlic powder, not garlic itself, because way higher in oxalates and issues with raw sources, or as in full garlic and onions. If you have them in their powdered form, they have much less toxins in them. So I can have the odd bit of garlic or onion powder, but I couldn't eat those like in a sauce, like as onions and garlic. And I find thyme and rosemary absolutely fine. Often hubby will put some of that on the outside of the meat when he's roasting it, and it doesn't create any issues that I've seen. But spices do. So I had this occasionally I'll have like a rooibos tea, which is a naturally decaffeinated red bush tea, and I had one that had spices in it. So it had ginger and cinnamon and stuff, and instantly upset my stomach. It was like my tummy went, no bueno, eject, from some spices. But spices, think about it, roots, etc., highly toxic. Turmeric, really poisonous. Ginger, really poisonous. So they put these things as anti-inflammatory properties, going, oh, these are anti-inflammatory, you should drink them. No, you should not. And even little amounts in my spiced tea have really upset my tummy. And you can only see this because of the situation we're in. Like if I had these things all the time, or was still having a ton of other things, I wouldn't know. But when you eat this way, you know what affects you really bloody quickly.
Yeah, and I also find my taste buds have changed. I don't have the desire to eat that anymore. I'll get in and out, like occasionally, okay, more than occasionally. And like once in a while, like a rogue grilled onion will make its way onto my burger, and I'll have it, and it's like, okay, it's delicious, but I don't feel like I'm missing this anymore. Like I don't even want it. Like, and I used to eat the shit out of grilled onions. Like
me too.
But now I'm like, I'm fine without. I'll taste it, and it's like, oh, this is good, but it's not like if I really wanted more, I would just get more. Like if I really wanted to put onions on my burger, I wouldn't care what the carnivore police said. I would get them. But it's like I don't have that desire anymore. It's really interesting how just having like the meat with the salt, like the salt just brings out the flavor. And I've said this before, but it's like when a smoker quits smoking, they say that their taste buds like come alive and they can finally like taste things again. And I feel like that's kind of like the same thing. Once you get rid of all the crap, then like your mouth livens up and the meat's
Totally.
just enough.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I had the same thing. My hubby used to say, "Do you want some burger with your onions?" Because I had a ton of fried onions. I fucking loved them. And now I don't eat them. The original reason as well, because onions was in my world still when I first went carnivore. Before I went strict carnivore, I was still having onions. And then our daughter, my youngest baby, she kept getting eczema, like a little bit on her shoulders, a little bit on her chest, like just sporadically. And we couldn't work out what it was. We were like, is it eggs? Is it butter? We took her off different things. And what we freaking worked it out was onion powder. So the tiniest amount of onion powder in something that we make, which we call it a bolognese, but it's just a mince dish, basically, that he would use a little bit of onion powder and a little bit of garlic powder, was giving her the worst eczema. And she can actually eat butter and eat dairy, because we thought it was dairy products as well. She can eat cheese and, in small quantities. She's only 2, so it's not like I'm going to let her have much of it. But, and she's absolutely fine. Give her anything with onion. And it's actually from the anion family, and it's a very highly toxic family of vegetables, the anion family. And a lot of people have allergies. And so I cut it out of her world, and therefore in turn kind of cut it out of mine. And then now I notice when I have onions that I react to them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually have a problem with onions. Oh. And I never would have thought that, but I do fully. So when you eliminate things, you're going to get much more in tune with yourself, and you're going to be able to work out these things. Someone was asking about different types of fat. Is raw trimmings or cooked better for digestion, that kind of thing? It depends on you. Like I have had people that have melted their fats in order to get better digestion. I've had people do the opposite. They've kept their fats solidified and had better digestion. So again, it's one of these things that you have to trial and error. The only thing that can become difficult is if you're doing this all by yourself and you're changing lots of things at the same time, you're not going to be able to identify which is which. There's too many external factors and things going on. So if you're going to change something and monitor it, you need to be doing it for at least 3 weeks of whatever you're doing before you change it again or change the next thing, because otherwise you won't be able to identify exactly what the issue is.
Yeah, and back to the onions. I mean, they're toxic for dogs and raisins and grapes or whatever, so it's just interesting that.
Yeah, well, it's the same with cacao. Now, I do me and you, Court, both do a lot of internal work on our nervous system, on our minds, on our spirit. Yeah, we do a lot of work on these things. And knowing that our nervous system as well, and the health of our nervous system be affected by all these things, it allows you to look deeper into what you're doing. But having the support, being able to monitor it, knowing what to monitor, what to look out for, all those types of things, it is challenging to do it utterly alone and by yourself. And I have had clients that are fully carnivore that I have worked with using the technique that I specialize in, which is the neuromuscular based therapy, and actually got rid of meat intolerances or dairy intolerances that they weren't able to digest. And that was even after 4 years doing it properly, and now she can eat other things. And it's because her nervous system is in the health state to absorb those things. So yeah, when we are, what I was saying about cacao is when we are in this kind of spiritual, communities, they use cacao a lot in their practices to open heart space and that kind of thing. And I never, ever, ever, ever drink them. Because cacao is so poisonous. And, it's funny because I have turned a lot of vegans carnivore. Like I think I'm on about 9 now, have gone from full vegan to full carnivore. It makes me so happy. But they, it's funny. Those ones are like, okay, I'm willing to eat meat, but I'm not going to let go of my cacao. So you have to throw it up and work out what's important to you. What does it mean to you? How is it affecting you? I won't bother with onions, even though I do love them. I won't bother because I've seen the impact now on my body, and I'm like, meh, I'll just eat meat and I'm good.
Yeah, the whole cacao ceremony. I've definitely done that.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and I do feel a bit like, oh my gosh. So I went to a breath work probably about a month ago now, and the woman facilitating it, because I've done multiple of her breath works, she went, okay, just if you want cacao, let me know, da 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 da. And she goes, we know you won't, Jess. And she like pointed me out in class. We know you don't drink it, Jess, because of your diet. And I was like, I had to say something. I wouldn't typically, but I was like, I have to actually stand up here. And I said, it's not actually a diet. I said, I'm not on any diet, because I don't want people, oh, she's worried about getting fat and drinking a cacao. Like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I was like, no, I'm not on a diet. I just don't eat non-species appropriate food. I eat things that my body can absorb and that allow me to thrive and have, and it's as simple as that. I'm not on a diet. I had to say something because I
Good
was
for
like,
you.
I think I'm a weirdo because I'm too paranoid to drink a little bit of cacao. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's just a highly toxic plant and it doesn't want to be eaten, and the chemicals inside are going to cause problems in my body, and I'm not doing it. So it gets easier, eh? When you work out, like Courtney said, when you work out your why, you start working out what your body likes, what it doesn't like, how you feel when you feel good. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't get. They don't know what they're missing out on because they think how they feel is just normal. And then as they start to feel better and better and better, they're like, holy moly, I never knew that health could feel this great, and that I was actually not in a great state and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, we get used to the aches and pains and the little quirks. Like I've heard from multiple people, oh my gosh, I never realized how bad I felt till now I feel so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Courtney and I have to run off now. Well, I specifically do because I'm going to drive 3.5 hours up to see some friends. But we are doing our first ever training and NRT session on my Thursday, your Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I'm so
Can't
excited.
wait.
So Courtney is going to have her very first experience of neuro reset technique, which is what I specialize in. And although it is online, because I am in New Zealand and Courtney is, where in the States are you? Texas?
California,
Oh,
Southern California.
okay. We aren't able to get together in person, but this technique is epic online, and I'm so excited to actually show Courtney what it is that I do and how we achieve it, because it's pretty amazing. And so after we do that, maybe we'll do another live, and we can talk about NRT and stuff, because people are always like, what is that you do? What is that?
Yeah, I don't even totally know. I don't know really like what to expect. I'm just showing up on Zoom with my lawnmower earmuffs or whatever you call them.
It's a secret.
Okay.
Yeah, with your specialized equipment and your gym kit on. I'm so excited for that. So yay. But thank you guys all so much for your questions. Courtney and I love everything to do with this. We are just health nerdy geeks, and we love being able to help and share with you guys as much as you can. So Sarah is saying, oh my God, you're going to be hooked, Courtney. So Sarah, I met through the Steak and Butter Gang, and she had a pre-existing hip issue and then a neck injury from like forever ago, and we have fixed all of that and sorted all of that, and she has absolutely transformed, but she's gone through the ringer to get there, so she's doing amazing. So yeah, I'm happy to share that with you this week. And then yeah, guys, thank you so much for your questions. If you need any more the help or support, like honestly, reach out to me or Courtney. Also in the Buff Wellness, who's in the chat right now, she is a functional nutritional practitioner. She is carnivore and she's amazing as well. But Kay is another option. There's so much support. Take it, use it, because this is honestly, wholeheartedly, in 20 years in health, this is the best I have ever felt. It is the best that I've ever seen anyone heal or transform in my whole life. You are on the right path. You've just got to get a little bit of help if you're not quite there yet. And we are fully here to do that for you.
Yes.
Yay.
What she said.
Have a lovely afternoon.
Have fun on your trip.
I will.
Bye.
Ciao.